look very hot in that T-shirt.
Oh, well, thank you.
Beefy.
We can.
So you're a beautiful, strapping man. He's beefed up, people.
Eat my protein.
Oh, God. Back to the protein. Good
Well.
Lord. Some of us don't like meat. I don't want to eat it. Can we not just eat salad like normal people? Is this not enough?
Welcome to Balls Deep, a humorous yet informative medical show with a mission of optimizing your performance in the bedroom, the bathroom, and the boardroom. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Pizzona, a board-certified urologist and CEO of Pizzona MD. We hope you enjoy. Now, let's jump right in. Hey, Stream Team, welcome to another episode of Balls Deep, and happy holidays. Here we are around the wonderful holiday season, and joined as always with my favorite present of the season, my beautiful wife, Catherine.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, you like
You're going
that?
to get some points for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I am. I'm a nice present.
Yes, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well,
I like your costume change.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I was not alerted that we would have time for a costume change, but apparently you are.
Well, we went from a more serious episode to something we're going to have a little bit more fun with here.
Okay.
And kudos to all the awesome team members at Pizzona MD. We have a lot of fun, especially on our vasectomy days in the office. So yeah, we've got some
It's a
pretty
beautiful
fun
day for a vasectomy T-shirt.
That it is.
I like it.
So yeah, we have a lot of fun.
You
In
look
fact,
good.
we had a vasectomy Saturday yesterday.
You did. You're doing that now. You're doing whole like Saturday open office hours.
Yeah, because I don't work enough.
You don't.
You know,
He's
here we are.
so lazy.
Here we are on a Sunday recording a bunch of podcast episodes.
I
work
thought
all
we were
day.
going to be home doing Netflix, and we're not. We're not doing that.
We have fun though.
We do. But today we were going to talk about medicine in the media, where they got it right, where the media got it right, and where they got it wrong. What do you think?
I love it. I thought it was time. There's, very often, whether I'm bored on the toilet or elsewhere scrolling through a phone.
Oh, that was a lot.
This is what guys do.
Don't.
And,
about that.
we come across these news articles that are healthcare related. And, I'm always looking to learn. And there's times I go, oh, that's a cool nugget. I didn't know that. Or, oh, there's this new drug. And other times I go, these people are experts. They have no idea what they're talking about. It's just there's so much outdated stuff or things get lost due to a poor understanding of statistics and quality of studies.
But we read these things. I read these things online in newspapers and magazines, and it's printed. So we take it as factual and correct,
Right.
Which is not always the case.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And now, for the record, before people start picking us apart, we're not the medical show. That's the 3-hour deep dive that's got an entire research team. Okay?
And that has 4 pages of footnotes at the end of the podcast.
And those are wonderful.
Those
and
are
I
great.
love them. But we want to give you a much more approachable, sort of high level, hit on a bunch of things here, have a fun discussion. So,
Okay.
ready to get started?
Let's go deep.
Balls deep.
So, medicine in the media, where they got it right, where they got it wrong. The first one that I came across, and this is something you and I have an ongoing argument about, meat protein versus plant protein, or just meat versus vegetarian diets. How does meat fit in? We're going to talk about this.
I love it. So,
Okay.
I think the title was...
Leave the meat, keep the legumes.
Yes. And listen, as a general concept, that is an absolute great idea. We should all be eating more plants. We should all be eating more fruits and more grains. We are definitely, as a guy who loves meat and protein,
Complete carnivore.
it is but I'm really an omnivore. I eat everything.
Okay, well, that does sound better.
Yeah. It's essential that you eat grains and vegetables. And this was it was less of a study and more of a group of recommendations that came out by this organization. And for the record, if anyone's interested, again, we are way too lazy to create any show notes,
So lazy. Yeah.
footnotes. God, that sounds exhausting.
I'm not doing that.
Maybe one day when it's big time, we'll have a whole
We'll
crew
hire someone
who
to
does
do
that
that.
crap. But no, I've got to feed her brunch. So if you're interested, these are all on Apple News and scrolling through. So this particular report came out with just a bunch of recommendations. So where did they get it right? Yes, we should be eating more high fiber, plant proteins for sure. Where they got it wrong was the following. We don't have enough discussion about the availability and the quality of various types of protein. So just to geek out just a touch, because I think it's important. When you eat food, and the food is made up of all the different macronutrients, carbohydrates, protein, and fats, and then all the micronutrients, all the vitamins and minerals, you absorb those nutrients into your body into varying degrees. And when you look at it from an availability, how much actually gets into your system, a lot of the plant protein that you, quote, eat does not get absorbed, and thus you can't utilize it.
So wait a minute. What you're saying, so I have plant protein powder, like that I put in a shake. Does it mean that I might not be absorbing all of the number of protein grams from the shake? They're telling me I'm getting 25 protein grams from the vegan protein powder. Is it possible that my body didn't get all 25?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So what we're more talking about is eating the whole foods themselves.
Okay.
And the reason is, when you're eating these plant proteins, they're packed with fiber. You've got to chew it. You've got to digest it.
Okay.
And so with any plant material, a lot of it doesn't get absorbed and you poop it out. And that's a good thing. We want to keep our bowels moving, keep our bowels nice and soft. That's good. But it's not great if you're trying to absorb every ounce of the protein. Okay. Now, a powder is broken down into a more digestible form by definition. So I can't say I am aware of or an expert in the plant protein powders versus, say, the whey or soy protein powders in terms of the availability or how much you digest.
Okay.
But proteins are also made of amino acids. We've heard of the essential amino acids. Amino acids are different building blocks that make up proteins, and there's many different types. Leucine, alanine, tryptophan, all these different ones.
This is where I space out.
And you need a certain combination and whole proteins to build muscle. And so if you do not get all of them, it's not as effective potentially for, say, building muscle. And a lot of the plant proteins lack some of the amino acids. Again, I'm not an amino acid expert. In fact, someone double check. I'm not even sure tryptophan's an amino acid, but I threw it out there anyway.
I thought that was the thing in Turkey that made you fall asleep after Thanksgiving.
There's something similar to that, but whatever.
Okay, he's making stuff
I
up.
said it, and then I'm like, I don't know. But point being, the principle to get across is that proteins are not equal. So when you tell a group of people that, oh, well, I'll just have this can of beans and it's going to equal the same as this, flat iron steak I eat, it's not.
It's not.
Secondly, if you look at how much of the legume or the plant protein, if you're eating whole foods, you need to consume,
it's a lot.
Boy, watch out for your toilets, your loved ones, because you're going to have some blowouts. It's going to be a lot of fiber.
Wow, somebody needs Beano.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Well, yes. I mean, if you look at trying to get, say, 30 grams of protein from chicken breast versus beans, like, good luck. So
it's going to be a situation.
So it's not that simple. Another finding in this study, which to me is egregious, they took no stance on ultra-processed foods. Mm-hmm. If there's one thing we can all agree upon is that ultra-processed foods probably shouldn't even be called foods. If you can't recognize the ingredient in the thing you're eating, we probably shouldn't be eating it.
It's not a food.
And it's not good for you. I'm sorry. Like, there's certain like nutrition has all these, I'll call them religions, the carnivores versus the vegans.
Sure.
But I would hope if, again, we can all get everyone in the room and agree, like, y'all, can we all agree, like, this stuff ain't food?
On just one thing, it's the ultra-processed foods.
So I think they got it wrong there. And then the last one point that I think they made, they were talking about dairy milk.
Well, they talked about limiting sugared beverages, but then said, okay for dairy milk.
Yeah, low-fat or non-fat dairy milk. And I'm like, go read your nutrition label of milk. It's sugar.
It's sugar.
It's got more sugar than protein. I mean, lactose, OSE, is your ending for anything that's a sugar. Fructose, sucrose, glucose, and lactose. They're all sugars. Your body doesn't know the difference. So listen, if you like a glass of milk every now and then as an adult, great. But we're not children, and even children probably shouldn't be drinking as much milk as we give them. It's this sort of very old fashioned, a glass of milk is healthy. It's really not. It's okay. You're drinking sugar. I'd rather you drink water. I'd rather you almost put a little splash of half and half or cream in your coffee to get the sugar out. But let's stop thinking that milk is this overall really healthy thing. It's fine, but it's still got sugar. And if you drink a lot of it, you're consuming a lot of sugar.
Okay. All right. So should we move on to the second
Sounds good.
study ideas we came up with? Predictors of dementia.
Yeah, so this was an interesting study that looked at symptoms at or factors by age 60 that would predict dementia later in life.
Going forward.
And just so we're all on the same page, dementia is a loss of our cognitive ability. We think of Alzheimer's, we think of grandma forgetting your name, but there's subtle things that can change. Mood swings, you forget to eat, you can, and very advanced.
They're very, very serious diseases.
Dementia and neurodegenerative diseases are a top 10 killer of adults in the U.S., and we have to take it very seriously. And a traditional thought behind it is, it's Alzheimer's. You either get it or you don't. Good luck. But what we're learning is there's a number of different factors. And so there's some genetics and some blood testing you can do, such as looking at what's called your ApoE genotype. And there are certain people who are at a higher or a lower risk for Alzheimer's based on those genetics. But I think they also came across some factors here in terms of lifestyle.
Yeah, a couple of things I think that might seem common sense. People who are in poor physical health. People who struggle with diabetes and obesity. Those are factors that can be, predictors of dementia issues later in life.
All of those things are linked to a couple big sort of drivers of lots of chronic disease.
Right.
So
we hear those over and over and over again.
And the common theme is chronic inflammation. When you are carrying extra fat cells, when you have extra blood sugar, when you have high insulin levels, all of these things are drivers of an inflammation and a release of various chemicals from your body that cause the body to, quote, get inflamed. Well, we shouldn't think that the brain is not immune to these factors. And so there's absolutely a link to diabetes, obesity, and just poor overall health with dementia later in life. So we look at, what can I do to help prevent dementia and Alzheimer's? Well, get metabolically healthy, get all your numbers in line, get into a healthy physical state, because all of those things, even if they don't cause heart attacks or strokes, could lead to dementia.
One thing they also mentioned is people, I'm sure this is true for a lot of you, mentioned people, when they retire, you quit engaging your brain.
I see this all the time, and this is where I have, again, a very privileged look into a window in people's lives at various stages. And I've had a number of patients who I've followed for years, especially I'd say older men, and they go, Doc, I'm finally retiring. And I go, that's awesome, man. You've worked so hard. That's great. What are you going to do? I'm not sure. And then I see them in follow-up visits, and it is striking to watch them decline both cognitively and physically. When you stop engaging your brain, it really stops its optimal function. I mean, there's a use it or lose it with your brain that's no different than muscles. And, we're not talking about people who are, in all cases, high-level CEOs. We're talking about even people who have blue-collar jobs. I don't think people realize the power in social interaction, the power in having a purpose in life. How many times have we heard of a couple who is married forever, and then one partner dies, and almost invariably that next partner is dead within 6 to 12 months?
Happens a lot, it seems.
It does. And so that idea that our surroundings and our purpose in life and how we utilize our brain really makes a difference as to whether you thrive after a certain big life event or whether you continue to decline. So I think that's a great takeaway point. I'm glad they hit on that, is you've got to engage your brain in some way. And it doesn't mean, you're necessarily doing Sudoku or crossword puzzles. So those are great brain exercises. Go join a church group. Start painting. Go out for walks in nature. Pick up a hobby like photography or, bird watching. I mean, just anything that engages you. Learn a language.
Something to do.
Go play some pickleball. Something that gets your body moving and engages your brain, especially in a social way, can absolutely help decrease or likely decrease your likelihood of getting dementia.
Okay. That's great. All right, we're going to move on to the third one. This one was interesting to me because I'll say it and then I have some questions. Less than 4 minutes of intense activity bursts can lower your risk of heart attack and stroke by almost 50%. Is that true? I mean, 4 minutes to me, I'm a big exerciser. I'll put that out there. So to me, 4 minutes, I just want to say, 4 minutes is nothing. It's ridiculous. You have to do more. Comment on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a pretty powerful study to read.
4 minutes is so minimal.
So what they looked at were people who engaged in varying amounts of what they called, short burst, high intensity activities. This could be running up the stairs. Does it have to be running? Could it just be walking up a flight of stairs or two? I meant it in a more figurative
Okay,
fashion.
but you said yes. Running.
So
okay.
yes, walking upstairs.
Okay.
She doesn't let anything slide, people.
I'm smart. I'm on it.
I say anything, it gets dissected here. Yes, Your Honor. Walking upstairs. Carrying groceries to your car. So what does this show? It shows a couple things. Number one, if you look at the best predictor of how long you are going to live, hands down, the most powerful indicator is something called your VO2 max. In other words, what is your maximal exercise sort of tolerance or effort? And this is something that, for those who have studied the longevity space a little bit, read Dr. Peter Attia's Outlive book, he talks about this. It's the idea of how hard can you huff and puff and go at it, and how well does your body and your tissues exchange oxygen? That's essentially what it means.
Okay.
And so you think of, obviously, on the top end, elite athletes, cross-country skiers, swimmers, marathoners. Me. Catherine
Obviously
Williams.
Me.
And that there's probably no upper limit in terms of the benefits you can see. And in fact, the impact is even greater than the negative impact smoking may have. So think about that for a second. So if you're at sort of a baseline of like how healthy or unhealthy an activity is, if smoking moves the needle like this much in the negative, being ultra elite with your cardiovascular health moves it this much.
Wow.
It is remarkable how much that matters. So knowing that on a big population basis and on a more sort of chronic exercise basis, it makes sense that even if you find little moments to take short bursts of activity where you're like, whew, running through an airport to catch your flight, while you've got your carry-on luggage in your hand, right? Picking up a kid and your groceries and going up a flight of stairs. Those little movements can make a big difference.
They matter.
So all that being said, I think the conclusion to take from this is find those moments. And we all have them. Everyone goes, I don't have time to exercise. No, you don't prioritize movement in your life. We all have time. Now, do we all have time and the means to get on exercise clothes, drive to a gym, do an hour workout with a trainer? No.
No, not everyone does.
But can you park your car an extra couple hundred yards away from your office door and walk quickly with your bagged lunch and your work bag in one hand and get a little huffing and puffing?
You
can. And those powerful bursts of activity can make a difference and they add up. So I think this is fascinating. I'm looking forward to more stuff coming out about this. But I think, again, it shows the power of intense exercise, and even short bursts can make a big difference.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Now, here's one I really thought was true, but when we talked about it earlier, you classified this more under the old wives' tale category. Vitamin C. Okay, so vitamin C, we're all been told get a cold, you start to feel a little, a little stinky. Load up on the vitamin C. It'll keep it at bay. It'll shorten the cold. Is this not true? There's 100 over-the-counter things at the CVS, at the Rite Aid, all based on this idea. More vitamin C, less cold. Not right?
So, yeah, we're going to put this in the category most likely of the old wives' tales and things that are probably where the benefits are overstated and the risks are underreported.
Oh, okay.
So this was a study that was reported, or recommendations reported out of the NHS in the UK.
National Health System.
Basically talking about this concept of megadose vitamin C. So in the large majority of cases, megadose vitamin does not equal mega results.
Well, I thought it did, and I think a lot of people think this, and so that's a shame.
Now, back in the day, we all heard of scurvy, like in the books. You got scurvy as a sailor on a ship, right? And you got to get your limes and lemons, and we're well beyond that in today's day and age. And that for most people who were eating regular foods, and even those of us who maybe are not eating very many regular foods or whole foods, the likelihood that you are vitamin C deficient is probably pretty low. Now, vitamin D, another story. Lots of people are vitamin D deficient, and most of us should probably be on supplements. Whole other episode.
But vitamin C,
we've got no data showing that megadoses are going to make a difference. And if anything, can cause a variety of fun ailments. Stomach cramps, diarrhea, and excess flatulence.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
So needless to say, there's no one who lives in a household who wants to have their partner suffering with any of those things.
I do not.
So, and then from the urology perspective, vitamin C actually gets metabolized into something called oxalate. If we recall from a way back episode, oxalate is the dancing partner with calcium to form most kidney stones.
Ooh, not good.
That vitamin C you might be pounding to, quote, prevent the cold as we enter the winter here might be causing a bunch of tummy issues, or even worse, kidney stones.
Okay. Good to know. Last thing I wanted to bring up, the last little study we read about, all has to do with sleep. I think we've talked a lot about the importance of sleep. I think a lot of people struggle in that arena to get proper sleep, to wind down, but these were hacks to help your sleep. And so some of the ones they mentioned, and you comment on whether you think these are good or not: hot shower or a bath before sleeping in the evening, helping wind down. You're saying yes?
Yep.
Okay. Skipping alcohol.
Absolutely.
I'm saying yes. I had a little cocktail last night. We had some dinner with some great friends. I had one cocktail. I didn't sleep that well.
Lots of data showing that even one drink can disturb your sleep cycles and the quality of sleep. 100%.
Did for me last night. Turning off the screens, the television even, the phones, the iPads, the computers.
Yeah, the computers and the phones are definitely worse than the TV, but I'm not going to condone TV watching.
But don't you think the TV is still keeping you awake?
It no doubt is, but it's not quite as bad. I've heard someone say, and I agree with them, the bedroom should be for two things, and one of them sleeping, and the other one's not watching TV.
Wow.
So for you adults out there.
Move on from that. Here's one that I think is interesting. My mom used to always talk about sleeping in a completely dark room. And you are also obsessed with sleeping very cool. And this mentioned sleeping in a dark room that is very cool. Does that really affect our sleep?
Our brain is very sensitive to light. It's important to get sunlight early in the day. And as we wind down, to move more toward that darkness and softer lights. And then when you're asleep, as dark as you can get. And the showering or bath before also leads into the idea that it's actually a cooler body temperature that helps you fall into sleep more easily. So all of these things I'm 100% for, and fall under the general concept of, as an adult, a sleep routine is a must. By the time you're laying in bed, it's already too late. It's about the routine and the setup and all the things you do during the day from the early morning sunlight. Another big one's exercise. Not eating for 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, avoiding the booze, getting into that calming of the mind rather than scrolling through social media and getting angry. All of the things we as adults do are leading to our poor sleep. And I think it is absolutely insane.
I know what you're going to say.
As a parent, that we obsess over the bedtime routine of our children and we completely ignore it for ourselves.
True.
How many parents and young couples have all of you gone out with and go, oh, I'm sorry, we got to go. Well, why? Well, I've got to get home. I've got to start the bedtime routine. Mm-hmm. I mean, treat it with this religious zealousness of, of how we do things. And yet they do nothing, none of that for themselves. It's like, there's a reason it works as kids. It still works as adults. We're no different. Right. So.
Well, and that was the last thing, the routine and the schedule of the sleep. You kind of hit it, but it's not only just the time that you go to bed, it's the whole preparation and the schedule, and also you're waking up at a scheduled time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
sleep still one of the most important things that most of us are not focused on.
Yes. Well, I think our entire episode was kind of just the tip, right? I mean, it was all highly actionable stuff here.
Highly actionable.
And I'm getting a nasty look from Chad. Our time is up because, as usual, someone talks a little bit too much, and that's this guy.
I thought you looked at me when you said that.
No, it was me.
It's him. Mm-hmm.
Again, Italian from New York. I got a lot to say. So,
wrap it up.
Stream team, hope you found this episode useful. And if you didn't, just tell us and we won't do it again. But I think there's a lot of things that come across in the media that unless you have looked at how studies are created or understand the research that's being done, and also a lot of these quote experts are very out to date. I mean, in medical school, half of what we learn today is going to be false within 10 years. That's a lot of turnover, and it's so essential that the health information you consume is up to date and accurate and not biased. And so, hopefully today, again, by no means are we trying to be some deep dive into things, but gave you some actionable things and was a fun discourse. So I had fun. Yeah. So
still waiting for my brunch, but yeah. There we go.
So with that, stream team, please subscribe to us on YouTube, share these episodes, leave some comments. We love y'all. Thank you for the engagement. Happy holidays, and especially during this time, please show yourself a little bit more love and kindness. And that goes to your family members during these holidays. We all know how that can go. We are all works in progress, including that crazy uncle or aunt who you kind of wish would stop having that extra booze and would get out of the house. So with that,
and on that note,
have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Balls Deep. If you'd like to join our stream team of listeners, please click the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. For more information about our practice, Pizzona MD, please visit pizzonamd.com. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and the content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. The show does not constitute the practice of medicine. No doctor-patient relationship is formed through this podcast or any of the social media channels related to this show. The use of this information is at the user's own risk. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.